Good evening and welcome to the regular City Council meeting for the City of St. Peter, Minnesota. It is Monday, February 10th, 2025. At 7 p.m. we are called to order. Would all please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone has received a copy of the agenda. Are there any questions, revisions regarding the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as distributed?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Next up are the minutes. The minutes appear on pages 5 through 7 of the packet. Are there any revisions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes as distributed, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. We have time on our agenda for visitors. We have time for visitors who'd like to comment on agenda items or for general visitor comments. Are there any visitors who'd like to address the council this evening? Hearing none, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda begins on page 8 of the packet and concludes with a resolution that appears on page 29. The resolution includes the, to DGR Engineering of Rock Rapids, Iowa, would be approved to complete an engineering and professional services for the generation feasibility and planning study. The following purchase would be approved: a Midway Ford of Roseville, Minnesota, for a Ford pickup truck at the price listed within the packet. The following licenses: a consumption and display permit for Nicollet County Ag Society, temporary gambling for St. Peter Ambassadors and Gustavus Adolphus College. Addresses and dates are listed within the packet. Corrections to resolution number 2025-17 and the schedule of disbursements for January 23rd, 2025 through February 5th, 2025. Is there any discussion or revisions to any of the consent agenda items? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Ram,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Bettis.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. We have no items of unfinished business tonight. Our first item of new business is a wastewater treatment biosolid improvements construction manager at risk selection, and Pete is here to talk to us about that.
Madam Mayor and City Council, as you're aware, since the completion and acceptance of the wastewater facility plan back in January of 2024, we have been putting together a plan to attack improvements that will be needed at the wastewater plant. Part of that, as we've discussed at workshop, is the development and acceptance of a construction manager at risk. We are going to be making improvements to the wastewater plant in a variety of different stages and phases, with the most important being the one we're having the most trouble with right now, and that is biosolids. We met, Bolton and Mink and city staff met with two firms that we felt had the capabilities of being a construction manager at risk, or a CMAR, and we interviewed both of them. Both interviewed very well, and we would have gladly accepted both to work on this project. They were asked to supply a price in comparison for the pre-construction phases, which is working with our engineer and staff to design a project to get to 90% so that we could begin improvements, which would include liquid storage improvements, transfer of biosolids from the clarifiers to the liquid storage, and then again a process would be selected to either dry or dewater biosolids to meet the Class A requirements. What we're asking you tonight is to approve Rice Lake Construction. Both the engineering firm of Bolton and Mink and ourselves are very familiar with Rice Lake. They worked with us back in 2010 and 2011. Sounds like a long time ago, but on our new water plants where they were the general contractor. CMAR has really grown in popularity with a lot of Minnesota cities because it is a way to transfer some of the risk in how we get things done. Going forward, Rice Lake will supply us a cost not to exceed, for which we'll bring back to council and either discuss at workshop or if it's straightforward, just bring it back for approval to work on some of those biosolids improvements. You can kind of see the schedule there on page 32, I believe it is, that talks about where we're at and where we're going. And we're asking that you approve the resolution, I believe on page 34.
Thanks, Pete. Any questions for Pete? Anything to add, Todd?
No, just that this is a process that we've used on a number of your building facilities and has worked well for you.
All right. Hearing no questions, the resolution appears on pages 32 through 33 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstra.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Ram.
Aye.
The resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pete. Moving on, adoption of a resolution accepting an RFP for community center control system. Oh, and John is here. Come on down, John.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. Thank you. As stated, I am here presenting a quote for the new HVAC system, computer control software system for the community center. At the end of 2025, this system will no longer be one that can be serviced, which could cause interruptions to the building if this is not replaced. So this was something that was approved in the CIP budget for the community center at a total of $60,000. So we did come in under budget with this quote. Per the purchase policy, we do usually get written quotes for something like this, but due to the proprietary nature of the current equipment that goes with this that's already in the building, we are hoping to just go forward as a proprietary system so that we don't have to replace all of the equipment, sensors and things like that that already are in the community center. So we are looking to avoid those additional costs. This is also going to be the same system that is currently in the new fire station as well, so it will sync up with that type of system. So we are seeking approval to the resolution that is, I believe, on page 37 to proceed with accepting this quote and proceeding with this upgrade to the software system.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Ben?
Now, my question is this, so the system support is no longer supported after 2025?
Correct.
But we want to continue to use a system that's no longer supported after 2025.
Mm.
And we're not going to go out and look at other possible vendors. So we're sticking with the same vendor that's pushing us, that they're forcing us to stay with them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I think I would like to see us go out and get just a few more bids,
Yeah.
just to see where they're at, before we go with this. It's nice that the bid did come in lower, but it would, in 2030,
No.
to come back and put another 40,000 because support ended in 2030. You know what I mean? To
So-
be in the same boat in 5 years.
Yep.
Because, I mean, system support, I understand how it works. It's licenses and they say, we're done. But maybe there's another vendor out there that we might be at 80,000 because we change out a few sensors, but that might be good till 2040.
Okay.
So in the long run, we actually might be better off. Just tossing that out there.
To clarify, the only part of the system, and I think you recognize this if I heard you correctly, is that it is only the computer system, not the equipment that is expected. But I do understand what you're saying as well. I know we are certainly happy to do that if that is the direction of the council. I do know in talking with staff and kind of preliminary conversations they've had with other vendors, they expect the cost to come in more than double if we are replacing the equipment as well.
Additional questions?
My question was almost identical with that.
Okay. Carrie?
If we waited to receive additional bids, what, does it affect our timeline? What would be the impact?
The impact isn't truly known. I mean, it would push us back at least a little while longer for staff to do that, come back and accept a new bid. The unknown is the fact of what is the backup on this, and we don't want to push too close to the end of 2025 on this if they were to have any service delays. I don't anticipate anything that would take 9 months. But if that were to be a case and we hit January of 2026 and had a major issue the first week, we'd have some problems. But it is certainly something that would delay us a month, 2 months, depending on the service time.
How long would it take to get additional bids?
Depends on how quickly we got the responses for. I know this is staff's primary recommendation. I do know there's a few other out there, and again, some of those conversations have preliminarily been had, but we could probably have that in another month or so.
So, but you're recommending to move forward, this came $20,000 under what we budgeted, and you are staff is recommending this based on the information that, if we had gone out to bid, it would have been double.
That is correct. Based on the research that Eric Borseth, our facility maintenance supervisor, has done, he is recommending this and has explained it to me, and I support that as well.
The system that we have in place currently is now approximately 25 years old. So that's the control system that we have in place. So, I mean, it's a very fair point. We continue to have or utilize systems that interconnect with the hardware here. That's what PAPI provides. They've provided the service for us. If we do solicit from others, it will then be different software to support the systems and some different hardware, but I wouldn't imagine substantial different hardware within the community center. So we wouldn't be changing out VAVs or those types of things. I wouldn't imagine as a part of that.
It would primarily be sensors.
But again, the system that we had has been in place since the building was brand new. So our expectation about life cycle, frankly, has more than been met on this one, but it is at the pleasure of the council.
Dustin?
Where I think some of the questions have come up, this was an expenditure that we questioned about the dollar bill amount from the get-go of bringing it up of how much this should cost. So I think you're just seeing a little bit of questioning because we don't have other bids here to see that that is the best price or best option moving forward.
Any further discussion? Well, there's a resolution before us, unless somebody wishes to make a motion to table. Ben,
I make a motion to table until we get a few more bids.
is there a second?
I was second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sharpström?
Aye.
Mayor Noel?
No.
Councilmember Johnson?
No.
Councilmember Pettis?
No.
Councilmember Ramp?
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
No.
The motion fails, so we are once again looking at the resolution accepting the proposal for the community center library HVAC
I'll make a
upgrades.
motion for the current resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Noel?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis?
Aye.
Councilmember Ramp?
No.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpström?
No.
The resolution passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks for the conversation amongst the council. I think we all care a lot about being good stewards of our resources, and so it's good that questions are raised and that we can have a discussion, so thanks for that. Our next up is a donation acceptance from the Carl and Verna Schmidt Foundation, and John, you're here to talk to us about that one as well.
Yes, on a far more fun note, would like to recognize the continued support from the Schmidt Foundation to our library here. This has been a very generous ongoing support of the library, and the donation has come in once again for 2025 in the amount of $69,500. This goes to the library material, the circulation material, which does include both digital and hard copy materials. And so the library is very excited to continue to receive this generous donation that has been on an annual basis, and would like to recognize and thank the Schmidt Foundation for this donation and bring it before the council for acceptance.
Thank you, John. Any questions or comments?
If I could, Mayor and members, this falls under your donation policy. We haven't always considered it in this manner, but for the last few years, this has been brought before the council for acceptance. That's part of the discussion that we've had with the Schmidt Foundation in recognizing them and their very kind donation. For those folks that don't know, they originally provided the money for the rebuild of the library back in the early 2000s, which was more than $3 million for the building and equipment. We are very careful, and as you know, as a part of the budget, that we're very specific about what this gets used for. So if at some point they were unable to provide this level of funding for you, it would not impact your operations other than from a materials standpoint. And so if this money didn't come in, this money isn't paying to keep the lights on or keep people there or anything like that. This is really for those materials. So if we had to go a period of time without materials, the library would still be usable by folks.
Thanks. Well, and thanks to the Schmidt Foundation. They do amazing things in our community, this included. Is there a motion to pass the resolution accepting the Schmidt Foundation donation?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis?
Aye.
Councilmember Ramp?
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
Councilmember Sherstrom?
Aye.
Mayor Noel?
Aye. The resolution is approved.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Our last item of new business is the adoption of a resolution approving the request for city assistance for the 2025 St. Peter All-School Reunion. And I think Todd's going to talk to us about that, and there's also a revision to the resolution that's provided.
Madam Mayor and Council, if I may, let me talk about it in general terms and then talk about the modification that I'm hoping you would approve as a part of the resolution. So this is submitted by the All School Reunion Committee. Generally, they have an event on an every once in a while basis, about every 5 years, so that is coming up. They've had smaller events from time to time. This event is planned in the First National Bank parking lot in the adjacent area. This is not substantially different than what they have asked for in previous years. However, in previous years, they have asked for a partial closure of Gray Street. So if you kind of put your mind's eye towards Gray Street, and there's an alley there that's between Rock Loft and Family Dollar, or between Nutters and the bank, as an example, they want to close the westerly portion of Gray Street, so from the alley to 3rd Street. In the past, we have not approved that, and we, from a staff perspective, would prefer that you not approve that again. The resolution that I have in the packet is a previous, Keisha took a previous resolution, and so I did not correct this because I thought we were going to be okay. But because of traffic that can come off Minnesota onto Gray Street, we really have to let that traffic flow through to 3rd Street. The alley essentially to the north is likely to be closed off by activities by the school reunion, the all-school reunion. And to the south, there's been development in the interim. And while it might be open, our guess is that there will be lots of pedestrians and other things moving along this area because of the new brewery there. And so our goal would not to be have traffic back up onto Minnesota Avenue or cause congestion in that area. I think it's also important to note that the attendees at this tend to be graduates that have graduated more than 5, 10, 15 years ago. And so many may be coming to this reunion and are unfamiliar with modifications that have been made in this area. So our goal would be to keep Grace open, helping the all-school reunion push pedestrian traffic to the corner on 3rd Street, not across the alley and not across the roadway where traffic will be coming off Minnesota onto Gray Street. This is really a safety issue. The last time they requested this, we did not approve their request for the closure or partial closure of Gray Street, and I think this time we should also follow suit in that manner. So that would require a small modification to the resolution that would not allow for the closure of Gray Street. Other than that, Everything else they're asking for is within the realm of reasonableness, makes the process move forward. They'll provide the appropriate level of insurance as they've done in the past in this area, and we're excited for them to do it. They are expecting maybe a larger turnout than normal because of how the calendar works. And as you know, the 4th is a Friday and the 5th is a Saturday. And so because this lands on a Saturday, they're expecting great turnout as it's connected to the 4th. So anyway, that's where I'm at.
Questions? Josh?
What's the thinking of closing Gray Street? Are they trying to use Family Dollar's parking lot?
I
too,
think
or
that's
is it-
part of it. I think they see a lot of pedestrian traffic. At one point, that's where they wanted to have vendors potentially go. But what we did last time is push their vendors onto 3rd Street. So again, imagine the parking area along First National Bank on 3rd Street. Vendors can park with their sales windows onto the sidewalk in the parking area there, and it's really safe and works really well. Council Weisenfeld, but beyond that, I don't know. Part of this is based on the discussion of staff today and a review of the packet. Part of this is a little bit of additional understanding of what their request was, not so much why it was that way. Frankly, I think they took the letter from about 5.5 years ago and just sent it again with a new date. And anyway,
Sure.
that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Additional questions?
So you just need to change it to eliminate.
Yeah, so we would remove the provision that allows them to close a portion of Gray Street. That portion would be removed.
I'll make the motion for that.
All right, we have a motion to approve the amended resolution approving city assistance for the all-school reunion. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Ram,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstra,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. I have no report, we're moving on to reports. I have no reports. Are there any council members with reports this evening? Hearing none, reports from the city administrator.
Mayor, members, I'm actually going to turn it over to Pete, if I may. We want to talk about a couple of grants that Pete and his team has received. And then one of the other cool things that we have, what we talked about before, is our RP3 rating has gone up. So really things that you should feel good about and feel proud about that not only help the city financially, but from a service perspective. So Pete, I'll let you talk about all three of them if you wouldn't mind.
As you guys remember, back in June, we had some extra beach property along Minnesota Avenue and Front Street. But with that, the wastewater resiliency grants came out, sponsored by the MPCA. These were grants that were made eligible to communities that were impacted by floodwater. Here, we applied, led by Curtis Thompson, our water resources superintendent, and Jeff Domras, our city engineer, put together two very nice packages and applied for two projects with the idea that we would hopefully get one of the two. We applied for Kasota Lift Station, SCADA, and backup generation. As you're aware, we really have we don't have SCADA system out there to monitor the activities as we would like. That facility's been in there about 20 years, has functioned really well. But when we did have some problems, getting access to the site to monitor the activities took us a while to get around, about an hour to get all the way around through Mankato and back to monitor some of those activities. We also looked for some backup generation there, not a huge generation issue, but if power would go out during a storm or due to flooding, we'd have a way to keep pumping sewage from the city of Kasota. This is a lift station that we own and maintain in order to maintain service to Kasota. We made an application for $175,000, and we did receive 90% of that, or $157,900, to make that process happen. And hopefully we can start working on that here in the near future. And the other one was Trunk Highway 169, the sanitary sewer that's over on the west side of 169 that flows out by Dodd Avenue all the way back to St. Julian Street and then hits our sewer system. That is about 40 years old, and it's clay tile with joints that need some work. And that was on our budget, if you remember, to do some additional lining out there. We applied for $213,000 and we did receive $192,280. These are both 10% matching grants, and so we committed those funds. The money that we had set aside for the lining will easily cover both of our in-kind services for that, so we shouldn't see any impact. It was a great opportunity for us. I would imagine a lot of communities have a lot of needs. I'm just really happy that Curtis and Jeff could make this happen for us and saved us, again, about $350,000 in grants that we don't have to go back to our ratepayers to pay for. So kudos to those guys. In addition, as Todd
Before Pete
mentioned-
goes on, hip hip hooray for sure. That's a big deal. So thank you.
Yeah, they did an outstanding job. In relation to the American Public Power Association's RP3, that is the Reliable Public Power Provider, that is a set of standards that we have tried to maintain within our community here now for the last 7 or 8 years, pushing a high level of reliability, not only for our customers, but our businesses that we have. Your electric utility, led by Jason Lee, as a superintendent, have worked extremely hard to make our system reliable. You may have seen them out this winter working on infrared and making changes out there. A lot of the work that they do in the wintertime results in what happens the following budget year. And as you guys have noticed, it's been a challenge on the electric side because our system is 25 years old and it is starting to show some wear and tear. When the guys go out and do some of the preliminary work, they catch these things before they become major issues. As you're aware, there also that we have a problem getting materials a lot of times. So when we can go out the year before and identify problems, order materials, 6 to 9 months later, the next year we are out making corrections, which keeps our outages down and keeps our customers with power. And so we're very happy that they have done that and have been recognized on a national level. There are about 10 cities in Minnesota that have received this award, and we're glad to be one of them.
So Pete, there's standards within this, and there's also classifications. So
Right.
there's like diamond or ruby or how does that work?
There's diamond, and that's a very high standard. There's a few Minnesota communities that fall within that. Then there's platinum, which is right below that. We are right at the top between platinum and gold, and we're working hard to implement some of the testing procedures to be accepted as a gold member. This award will be good for 2 to 3 years, and then we'll be applying to try to reach that next level of customer service.
And as you know, and you see through a number of the standards related to time of outage, number of outages, those kind of things, you guys are just at the top of the top here in the state of
The third
Minnesota.
level is the gold standard.
Yep.
Yeah, we were there the first couple of years as we developed our program and got things going, and now we've moved up to platinum, so.
So we are platinum status, which is fantastic. So those of you that go and visit with some of the other Minnesota utilities in Washington in the near future, I wouldn't be ashamed to nudge them in the arm and say that a little bit. You're ahead of most of them, so it's important to know. So
I think most
great
of
for
those, the ones that have received the award are going, so be careful who you nudge.
it's a really great thing for our customers for sure. So thanks, Pete, for talking about
Thanks,
that.
Pete.
Madam Mayor, the next thing that I have for you is a request for closed session on page 46. We have union negotiations that are ongoing, and so really this is in the form of 3 closed sessions, one for electric line workers, Local 70, one for our maintenance, Local Unit 70, and one for our communication technicians or dispatchers, LELS 242. So technically there would be 3. I do not anticipate coming back into session to do anything other than adjourn. We will not come back and take action on any of these contracts.
So we'll move downstairs.
So we'll
during
move
the
downstairs,
closed session.
and again, we'll only come back in open session to adjourn.
All right. Any questions for Todd, or is there a motion to approve the resolution calling for a closed session?
So, second.
All right, motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Ramp,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharpstra,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
The resolution is approved, and we will move into closed session. It is 7:32 PM.